Welcome. You're listening to Sports Econ 101, the show where we discuss sports topics from a business perspective. I'm your host, Edward Brown, along with my co-host, Russell Jackman. At each commercial break, we're going to ask a sports trivia question. And since we know Russell loves the NBA, even though we're kind of out of season right now, we thought we would have NBA questions. How's that?
Oh, wow.
Yeah, just for you, my friend. And
Yeah, with football starting out and everything, I was thinking that for sure it was going to be NFL stuff.
well, that is going to be next week. In fact, it's interesting. Next week, Russell and I are going to be at the Joe Morgan Memorial Golf Tournament, and we do this usually once a year, and it's really fun because we get to interview all the stars of yesteryear. And
That's not the fun part. It's the food. That's the fun part. Man, they have like this killer barbecue that they set up, and all these great desserts and all the soda you can drink. No, it's very peaceful and beautiful out of the golf course, and they're very accommodating to us. So I really appreciate them very much.
Yeah, and we'll see which famous sports stars show up. Unfortunately, Vida Blue had died this last year, so I think we're going to do like a little memorial, so to speak, for him as well. But it'll still be kind of fun though. It's a good day of golf. You're not a golfer, so you get to just enjoy relaxing and talking to everybody and interviewing people, and it'll be a lot of fun. All right, when we come back, we want to talk about a few interesting things. Otani and with the arm fatigue. There's a thing about NASCAR faces a boycott. Ezekiel Elliott signing a one-year deal with the Pats. James Harden and the 76ers, what's going on with that? And then Don Nelson, the old Warrior coach, is trying to help out his fellow Hawaiian people on Maui, because he lives on Maui. All right. This segment of Sports Econ 101 is sponsored by Pacific Private Money. Check them out, pacificprivatemoney.com. Don't touch that dial. Sports Econ 101 will be right back. Welcome back to Sports Econ 101. I'm Edward Brown, along with Russell Jackman. All right, last week I tried to get this in, but we didn't get a chance. Anthony Davis signs a 3-year, $186 million contract to stay with the Lakers. I mean, that's $62 million a year if you just average it out. Is he worth that much?
The Lakers are in a really no-win situation when it comes to this. They need Anthony Davis alongside of LeBron James, but this is the dichotomy that you get when you sign mega superstars like that to your roster. You just don't have the salary to fit any other decent players. So they have LeBron James, they have Anthony Davis. Maybe you can say D'Angelo Russell is the next, best player they have on the team, and maybe Russell Westbrook. I mean, he's kind of hasn't really fit in anywhere. Wait, no, Westbrook's gone out of there. I forgot he's over on the Clippers. So they don't really have what you'd consider a third star on the team. It's really just LeBron and Anthony Davis. Now, Anthony Davis keeps getting hurt.
And that's what I was going to say. Yeah.
To invest $60 million a year in a guy that doesn't have the consistency and the ability to get, I mean, the only time they won a championship was when they had the bubble season and not 82 games. And I don't think either LeBron or Anthony have 82 games worth of play in them for next year.
Well, LeBron's going to be 40 years old next year.
Plus, you don't know where LeBron's head is going to be at with his son's heart attack.
Yeah, good point.
He may not be as gung ho for I mean, he may have that as a distraction. I don't blame him. I mean, that's anybody whose 18-year-old son has a heart attack on the court. I can imagine him thinking, hey, I might need to, maybe I should retire and spend time with my son, because I don't know if he's going to be around. It's weird to think if you have an 18-year-old kid, to think that I'm going to outlive my kid. My kid may not see his 21st birthday, but that's a reality.
Well, I have an old-time friend who I grew up with, had a son who, excuse me, he actually lived in Maui. Kind of interesting. We're talking about Maui before. He lived in Maui, and the son was playing little league, and somehow he's running to second base and he collapses, and they have no idea what's going on, and they check it out, and he has a heart defect. And so suddenly they realize the best place for him to be is in California, with the the best hospitals and doctors. So they up and moved to California. I mean, he was a California native to begin with, but he lived in Hawaii for many, many years. But when your kid's health is at stake, you just do anything you can.
Right. And we don't know what that effect is going to be on LeBron, or what kind of a distraction that's going to be. And I don't blame him. I'm not saying,
Oh, no, I get
play
it.
basketball and say the hell with it. I think that with the money that LeBron has, he doesn't need to win another title. I mean, he's done a lot already
Yeah.
in his pro career. I know he wants that other title, so he matches up with Jordan and so forth. But it does come a time where it might just be, especially if Davis breaks down again and the team has to completely put all of their weight on LeBron. It might just be too much for him.
Good point. I mean, he's had a great career. It's not like he's just starting out. So.
Yeah. And he's getting more and more injured as time goes on, even though he's in amazing shape for a guy that's as old as he is. But keeping in mind that he's no mere, he's 37 or whatever, but he has a lot more mileage on him than a standard 37-year-old in the NBA, because he's been, he went right to the NBA instead of.
Well, wait, no, he was born in '84. So he'll be 40 in
40.
What's that?
So that's that. As I said, he has, for a 40-year-old, he has a lot more mileage on him than a standard 40-year-old does.
Yeah, I mean, when you're 40, I mean, when I was 40 and I was playing basketball, sure, I could hang out there, but not for 82 games.
Yeah, and being the focus and having everybody swat at you and punch you around and all that stuff. So it's I'm not a LeBron James fan, but I think he's in a very tough position, and I think the Lakers going to be in a tough position because they're spending so much on a guy that they can't really rely on, and that's a lot of money. I mean, there's some teams that their salary range is like, for their total is maybe 120 per year, and you're looking at a guy like Davis eating up half of their salary cap.
I know. So, I just don't I just don't get those kind of numbers for the players. Again, hey, listen, God bless them if they can negotiate it, but there's just something kind of wrong with the system.
Yeah, I think the Lakers may have made a mistake that they can't get out of, which is fine. As a Warriors fan, I don't have any love for the Lakers. Although what is making me become a Lakers fan, and I would never say that otherwise, is that show Winning Time. Have you gone in and watched that
yet? I enjoyed that very much.
And
I like John C. Reilly.
The second season has started up. I'm saving it so I can binge watch it. I really that's how I've now gotten to be, is that I will wait for seasons to end, and then I will go and just watch them all in bulk, because I can't stand it when there's another show that you want to watch, like episode 2 comes out and you're like, episode 1 finishes and it's a cliffhanger and you want to see what happens in episode 2 and you have to wait a week. I can't stand it. So I go, you know what? I wait for the entire season to end, and then I know I can watch the next episode whenever I feel like it, rather than have to wait. So
it's so funny because I every once in a while I think about that with regard to like when we were kids, and when I was a kid, Lost in Space was my favorite TV show, and
the pain, the pain, keep away.
What?
Dr. Smith. When Dr. Smith would go,
you bubble-headed, you bubble-headed booby.
Yes.
There were so many names.
Tankerous, clanking.
And my favorite always was warning, Will Robinson, warning. But the thing is, there were no reruns and stuff like that. You literally had to wait 1 week, and then they'd have to.
Oh, and if you missed it, forget it. If you missed it, you'd never see it again, or you'd have to wait until you're like, YouTube came out, 30 years later. You'd have to watch it.
Yeah, but my wife and I have been watching Suits, which was apparently, I mean, I was like, 10 years old or something. And it was with, again, Meghan Markle, which is, I mean, I kind of enjoyed her in the show. I don't really care for much of her now, but she does a good job in the show, and we're really enjoying it. It's, I don't know, it's like 8 seasons or something. I don't know if you've
You know,
seen that one.
I think you and I should do a TV show, one of
Oh,
these,
yeah, we
one of
should.
these shows. We should devote it to like television, because you and I, that is one other thing that we have in common that we haven't really delved into, is the amount of TV you and I watched in the early years. Is
Oh my, are you ready for this? My brother and I, when we're going to go to a break here in just a minute, but my brother and I, one time were bored when we were kids. We named every single episode, which was 108 of them, of Gilligan's Island.
wow,
Yeah.
wow. You see now,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
don't.
Do you remember when there were two Gilligans? Do you remember when Richard Keel played the ghost? Do you remember when, and just, boom, 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 just started rattling. We had to write them down. But that's how bored we were when we were kids. Now it's a little hard to be bored. Okay, you ready? We're going to go to our first commercial break with the trivia question, talking the NBA. Who had the best free throw percentage for his NBA career, for a player that played at least 10 seasons? And we're talking about somebody who's already retired. So, Steph Curry hasn't retired yet, so he doesn't count. All right. That's our trivia question. Email Edward at sportsecon101.com. The answer to this question: who had the best free throw percentage for his career in NBA history for a player who played at least 10 seasons? All right. Stay with us. Sports Econ 101. I'll be right back. Don't touch that dial. Welcome back to Sports Econ 101. One more time. I'm Edward Brown, your host, along with Russell Jackman. Here is our trivia question. Talking the NBA, who had the best free throw percentage for his career in NBA history for a player who played at least 10 seasons?
Calvin Murphy.
No? You will know the
Um,
player, though.
well, I'm sorry.
You will know the player.
Is it Rick Barry?
No, that would have been a good guess, too. Nope, it was Steve Nash.
Nash.
Nash,
Oh,
90.43%.
I know they're all very close. I know Murphy,
Yeah.
Barry,
Yeah.
and eventually Curry is going to probably wind up very close to that percentage.
And Jordan Poole.
Jordan, well, I think he's gonna come down to a stunning dose of reality when he doesn't have the crew around him like he has with Golden State. He'll probably score 20 points a game, but I think his field goal percentage and free throw percentage and all that stuff, it's going to be different when you are the star instead of working with other stars, and you're a pretty good player, but you're around legends.
Yeah.
You become a great player. But then when, everything is on your shoulders to get the job done, it's
Well, not
not
just
so
that, not just that, but if you're playing with Curry and Clay, with the Warriors, more focus is going to be on them. So you're going to be a
absolutely.
little more
That's my
open.
point.
Yeah.
Is that when you are the focus and everybody's attacking you,
Yeah.
and you don't have somebody to turn to, and you can't just dish off to Curry or to Clay or to Draymond, you're going to find out that the league's much tougher, and all
Yeah.
those numbers that you had kind of fall by the wayside. So
Good
we'll
point.
see how that goes.
Hey, let's move on here for a minute. So Shohei Ohtani, he's going to miss his next start due to arm fatigue. And it got me thinking, hopefully this is just a one-time thing, but how long can a guy like this perform this way? It almost reminds me of, and this is not exactly a comparison, but it just kind of reminded me when Jose Canseco, it was like a lopsided game.
Oh, and he threw the 100. Yeah, he threw 100 pitches in warm up and blew his arm out.
Yeah, and I mean, and you have an outfielder who now, boom. I mean, back in Jose's time, he had an outfielder who, I don't know how many games he missed because of that. And it's not necessarily
But he throws 100 pitches in warm up. That's more than most good pitchers pitch an entire game for. So
was that what it was? He threw 100 pitches in warm up?
Yes, he did. And that's why his arm was so sore. His arm was sore. He threw like what a good pitcher would pitch for for an entire game, for a long entire game, and he blew it out while he was in the warm up spot. He's so nervous.
It's like the home run derby during the All-Star game. I mean, these guys, I don't know how they don't get fatigued. I mean, they usually do by the end, but just swinging the bat that many times in a row
Yeah,
is
yeah, you
a
could
lot.
really pull something. Yeah, I mean, but then again, if the home run derby, it's so meaningless that I think after a little while, guys are just kind of like, okay, great. If I hit it out, great. If I
Yeah.
don't, fine. I will give you a Jackman piece of Jackman trivia.
Yes.
You know that in 56 years, I have missed the home run derby 56 times.
Yeah.
I've
Wow.
never I've never watched a home run derby,
Wait,
and
I
I'm
don't,
not
I don't know if
going
they've had
to.
it for 56 years, but I
I
do.
I I pay no attention to it. To
It's
me,
funny. When it first came out, I don't know, 20, 30 years ago or something, it was kind of fun. But yeah, I kind of started missing it too. I'll tell you, now you might not remember this, but there actually was a show like on Saturday mornings, Home Run King or something like that. And they'd have like Mickey Mantle against Willie Mays.
wow. Now that
Yeah.
would have been something a little bit more interesting. I just find the home run derby. Do I really want to get excited about batting practice? And to me, I just like I have to draw the line somewhere. And for me, the home run derby is where I draw that line.
Yeah, it's almost like with the basketball all-star game, the three-point shooting is probably the most fun to watch rather than the game itself.
Well, it's because it's got no yeah, it's got true competition that the guys actually really want to win. There's something that, bragging rights that are really at stake. And
Yeah,
it's something that, unlike the dunk contest, has a measurable metric
yeah.
that you can, anyway. But
It's
even
not
that, I
subjective.
gotta
Yeah.
say,
Yeah.
with the All-Star game, they now add in a bunch of balls that are extra points and stuff like that, and they put the balls in different positions. They have the Gatorade ball or something that's worth like 5 points or something. So they still are kind of mucking it up from
Oh,
what it
yeah.
was, just purely how many 3-point shots can you make. Now there's like the money ball rack and stuff like that you got to do, which to me, I will say this though. If you ever try to do like a 3-point contest, because my friend did that and won tickets to the All-Star game in 2000, he
Oh,
remarks that by the time you're at the third rack, you're pretty darn tired.
oh, yeah. Oh, I know. That's why it was amazing to see like a YouTube video, something ridiculous, like Curry hitting just by himself. He's just practicing. He's hitting like 116 in a row or something ridiculous.
Yeah, that's probably why they don't have them do it anymore, because they're just like, we got to have somebody else win it every once in a while.
Well, between him and Clay, it was kind of fun having
Yeah,
going back and
yeah.
forth. But anyway, going back to Otani, what do you think? I mean, they may have to kind of start looking at this a little bit more serious and going, you know what? We're not going to have you pitch that often.
In the end, it's going to come down to Shohei and what he says he feels like doing. And I mean, no one's going to tell Otani how to play baseball.
True.
That's that he is the one. But it may come to a point where it's the other question is, what other position can he play other than designated hitter? What other position could he play in the field? Does he have the qualifications for it? I don't know. I've
Sure.
never seen
I
him
mean, but
before.
it's funny because Babe Ruth was a pitcher, but because they
Right.
wanted him playing all the time, it was back in
Well,
the.
and back then, come on. I mean, pitching the require you could pitch an 80-mile-per-hour fastball and people were impressed.
Wait a minute. They say Walter Johnson was throwing probably close to 100.
Right. And there were like 2 or 3 pitchers in the league that could do that.
Yeah, no, the
Instead of
guys are definitely
every
bigger and
pitcher.
stronger now, for sure.
Yeah, every pitcher now, if you can't throw at least 90, you're not even going to be considered for a job in
Unless you're a knuckleball pitcher like Candiati.
Yeah, well, yeah, but tell me, okay, you bring up Candiati. Who else is a knuckleball pitcher now these days that relies strictly on control and not on speed to get the job done?
Boy, you got me on that one.
Yeah, the game has changed that much, and a guy like Babe Ruth wouldn't be a pitcher today. I think he would be a designated hitter.
Yeah. But yeah, fair. That's fair enough.
Yeah, they would not put him out there and maybe they put him out to pitch in specialty occasions. And this was just before I got on the show today. They were talking a little bit about the Giants and how the reverse order pitching. What is your thought on that? Where teams now have quote unquote a starter, and that starter pitches 1 or 2 innings, and it's usually the guy that was the closer, and then they work in reverse, and then they put in, you know, their starting pitcher that's usually going to pitch 4 or 5 innings, and then
I guess whatever works. I mean, it's a little pain as a fan, you know, because you want to see your starter go for, you know, some innings rather than, you know, quickly changing pitchers. But, you know, from the standpoint of longevity of the players, and, you know, I mean, if it's working, again, I guess someone had to do an experiment, right, to see if it works.
Right, and the Giants have had it work originally, but now it's sort of the gloss is wearing off, and without having some, you know, set starting pitchers. They have 2 or 3 good starting pitchers, but they're missing that 4th in the lineup, 4th and 5th in the lineup. And so, you know, they're just sort of piecemealing whatever, you know, closers they can, and then trying to put in Mania or Stripling in the middle of the rotation. And like last night was one of those deals where they went up against Tampa Bay, who's a really good team.
Yeah.
They just got rocked from stem to stern. And, you know, maybe it's one of those things like, do you remember when the Wildcat was really popular in the NFL?
Yeah.
And every team wanted to do it. And then suddenly, you know, teams figured out how to beat the Wildcat, and then it just went away and it never came back.
So
well,
sort of like
I'm wondering if that might be what's happening to these openers, what may happen to these openers. It may be a fad that goes on, you know, and was popular, but now, you know, once teams kind of catch up and figure out the strategy to face the openers,
but
they may not work.
No, but I mean, I can understand the Wildcat not working because you can figure that out. But baseball is a whole different animal with, you know, different pitchers going to be different. You know, I don't know if there's much strategy from a hitter standpoint.
I'm not sure. I mean, I'm not sure, and I'm not sure if it's something that just is, you know, because Tampa is just so good that they're clocking us. But it does seem like it's slowing down, and not a lot of teams are doing the opener type thing. Although Tampa is one that's using the opener, and obviously that they're super successful at.
Well, again, if you got a good enough pitcher rotation, then that's going to help. Hey, Russell, we're going to go to our second trivia question here. Talking the NBA, who is the only player in the 1980s to block 15 shots in an NBA game, and he did it twice?
Okay.
All right, that's our trivia question. Stay with us. Sports Econ 101. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Sports Econ 101. Edward Brown along with Russell Jackman. Second trivia question. Who is the only player in the NBA in the 1980s to block 15 shots in a game twice?
Mark Eaton?
No, but he definitely is a center.
Then Manute Bol.
Yes.
Okay, it's one of those two, because those two have pretty much, yeah, those, you add one more blocking guy, and that's Elijah Wan.
Yeah.
And otherwise, you know, it's, to me, what's fascinating is that you know, how many years Wilt Chamberlain did not get the benefit of people counting blocked shots.
Because they didn't count them.
Him and Bill Russell. But what's really interesting is that I'll see, like, for instance, on the internet, people posting like, oh, Wilt Chamberlain was in the 72 finals, and in the 72 finals, he had 8 blocks. I'm like, how do people know this? How do
you watch the game and you start counting them?
Yeah, I guess, you know, do you think at some point in time the NBA should hire someone like myself to just watch all the old NBA games and count up all the blocks that happen and go retroactively and put in the blocks and steals?
You know what? That would, I was gonna say, so blocks, steals, rebounds.
Well, they've always had rebounds.
They always had rebounds. Okay. All right.
Yeah, they've always counted rebounds. They've always counted minutes. They you know, obviously there's no such thing as the 3-pointer. So it's really just blocks and steals that would be great if they went back and retroactively added. I mean, those tapes of the games should still be around. A lot of teams did, you know, record
Oh
their
yeah, for sure.
their
Well,
team.
but also like you say, the 3-pointer. I mean, I guess in theory you could draw a line and say, like Pete
Oh
Maravich
yeah.
from such an.
Oh,
But,
they said that if Pete Maravich, if the college 3-point line
oh
had
yeah,
existed, remember it used to be a really short 3-point line in
yeah,
college. They
yeah.
said that if Maravich had a college 3-point line, they've looked at a number of his games and they said that he would have averaged about 60.
Well, that doesn't surprise me because he was almost 45 points a game, I think.
Yeah, and they said that a lot of his shots were well beyond the college 3-point line range. So
Amazing. To average 60 points a game. That's
I
just
really would
crazy.
have been something.
Okay. All right. Now, okay. So Ezekiel Elliott signs a 1-year deal to play for the Patriots. He's quote only getting $3 million salary with $1 million signing bonus.
That is really low though for a guy
It
that
is
was.
kind of low, yeah. And then potential $6 million with various
Well,
incentives.
here's the thing that I think is, especially because I love football stats and I'm a fantasy football guy. It's an interesting dichotomy where we've got everyone saying, well, running backs aren't worth very much, so we're not going to pay them anything. And then every fantasy guy team that you have, the running back turns out to be the second most important position or the most important position. So we're all like fantasy wise looking at drafting the best running back possible. But now the league has gotten to the point where they don't care about running backs. And so like you draft a top-notch running back and he's only going to get you 30 or 40 yards a game because so many teams are going to committee running backs and not willing to like put all their money into quote unquote the bell cow running back. And so
well, for years it used to be the tight ends were the lowest paid players.
Right. And so now it's now, but it's weird. It's the fantasy world is trying to, to find yourself a guy that's going to run 100 yards per game is now like finding the true gem of the league. And we're all going to be scrambling this year to try to find a running back who'll even get you 50 yards a game, because it's into so much into the committee. And I will say this, there's been a big trend where you have seen it used to be like if when you're drafting, you would always go with the best running back. But now I'm seeing, wide receivers being taken in the first round, quarterbacks being taken in the first round, even top-notch tight ends like a Travis Kelce get taken in the first round. And running backs are falling down now and not for sure the number one. I mean, obviously there's guys like Derrick Henry and stuff like that that you want to get and like Christian McCaffrey. But other than that, there's, it's hard to think of like who is another, pure stud at running back. And I'm going to say, I think the team, the fantasy players are getting used to like not expecting running backs as the number one. Plus they get hurt so often. I mean, a guy like, as I said, Jonathan Taylor, gutless Jonathan, strung the whole league out last year and, kept saying he's going to play and only played in like 6 games or something. So
I haven't actually played fantasy football.
I know.
So let me ask you something. When you choose your players, and what do you like? You're watching TV and you skip around game to game, and then how do you figure out? Oh wait, my quarterback just threw an interception. Okay, that I got to subtract 2 points or whatever. I mean,
that's in the olden days when you used to have the newspaper and that sort of thing. You had to calculate it out yourself. Now, thanks to computers and the internet, all that stuff is calculated for you. So like when you're on let's say you go to NFL.com and join a fantasy league there. Then they automatically come up. Sorry about the phone here. When you get the team, when you put your team together, you'll go to NFL.com and just watch your team rack up points and your opponent rack up points live as it happens. But what you really are doing is you're gonna usually surf whatever's on TV,
Sure.
And if you've got 2 or 3 players in one game, you'll watch that game intensely.
Yeah.
Then then it'll be the Jets against Cleveland, on the Thursday game, and you'll still be pinned to it because your kicker is in there, and you're like, you got to get like 4 points to win the game. So you're yelling at the guy to like, don't kick a 40-yarder, kick a 50-yarder. So I'll get sometimes all you'll care about is that the other team like doesn't get enough, because you're like, oh, don't get down to the 10-yard line because I'll only get 1 point for this kick. Go back to the 50-yard line. So you won't want a team to actually do successful offensively, because you're like, if they get a touchdown or they decide to go for it on the 4th down, you're like, no, I want my kicker to kick this one. So
and of course the coach is on a line with you to make sure, hey Russell, what would you like me to do for this game?
Oh yeah, oh god, yes. And certainly, look, there are players that will shout out to their fantasy owners. They'll say, this, I got this one for you folks in the fantasy groups, but it's
that's, wait a minute though, that's kind of dangerous, because that's almost like betting.
It is. So it is. Places like DraftKings, that is all what it's all about. And look, I'm the one who stands up to sports and gambling. Everybody else is, especially our dearly departed FP Junior, loves sports gambling. But I can see that there's that side to it where guys can be very well tempted. In fact, there's a gambling scandal that's going on right now in college, right?
Well, when is there not?
Yeah, but they're saying that some of the players have been betting on their own team.
Yeah, for fantasy or just regular?
Yeah, for regular.
For regular? Oh, yeah. I mean, that's just a clear violation. But I can see where, if you're a football player, an actual player, and obviously all about this fantasy stuff, and you realize, yeah, if I just run, if I could go down a little sooner, and then put my kicker in a position to kick a longer field goal, like you said, to get more points. I mean, that's dangerous for the game.
Yeah.
I wonder how they're going to get around, scary stuff there, when it's kind of fun when you sort of just, as a fan, you go, oh, this is kind of fun. And, it's like playing the point spread. And in fact, this is what I like to do every year, but I haven't actually like tracked it. If I were a betting man, I would take just the first week, every home team that you're an underdog, and take the points, because nobody really knows how good a team is. You have an idea, but I venture to say that you'd be right more than 50% of the time if you take the home team, if it's an underdog, and take the points. That makes sense?
Yes.
Okay, you keep that track for me. Tell me what happens after week 1. Because I remember in horse racing, they don't do this anymore, but you used to be able to bet, quote, the field. And the field were like, there's 20 horses running in the Kentucky Derby, and they'll take the worst 10 horses and throw them into what they call the field. And you just bet the field to show, and if any one of those horses comes in first, second, or third, you end up making money.
Well, a thing like DraftKings, they have a lot of different types of games that are like that. Standard fantasy football is not like that, but the fact is, now they're really looking at expanding the different types of games. Any way to separate people from their money. That's what my grandfather.
But also, I mean, I can just imagine. I mean, I'd almost be scared to start doing it, because I think I'd be glued to my computer, and talking to people about fantasy football all the time. And I mean, it can be a real obsession.
Yes. Yeah. No. And eventually there's going to be somebody who doesn't win and takes it out on a player, or takes it out on a team.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that's a good point. You know what? I'm gonna. How about going to Chat GPT or something, AI, and see what kind of intelligence can come up with a team.
Yes, exactly.
That'll happen.
I wouldn't be surprised if people start using Chat
Yeah.
start using AI to start, selecting fantasy
Yeah,
teams.
but
And
you never know
eventually-
who's going to be hurt, though. If
but
someone
then,
gets hurt in a
yeah,
game.
but then eventually what you're having is computer picking, a team versus another person who uses a computer to pick a team.
Yeah.
And after a little bit, you're just not even using any actual like intelligence. You're just letting a computer do it all for you, which I guess what's more human than that?
Exactly. Okay, just really quickly before we go to our next break, actually, we got to go to our break. We'll cover this stuff probably next week. All right, you ready for our third trivia question here? We're talking the NBA. Who holds the NBA single game record for steals in a postseason game? I don't have the number of steals, but I do know the name.
Okay.
Right? That's our trivia question. Who holds the NBA single game record for steals in a postseason game? I don't know how up to date this is, because if anyone's done it in the last, let's say, 5 years, that's not in this answer. So this person's been retired for 5 years or more, but not, the 1940s like you like to tease me about.
Well, the NBA only goes back to 45, but
Yes, who in the NBA game in 1722, who had the most steals? Okay, I don't know the year, but again, who holds the NBA single game record for steals in a postseason game? All right, stay with us. Sports Econ 101. I'll be right back with some closing comments. Don't touch that dial. Welcome back to Sports Econ 101. Last time for today, I'm Edward Brown, your host, along with Russell Jackman. Our third trivia question: who holds the NBA single game record for steals in a postseason game?
Boy, that is going to be a complicated one. I'm thinking. Well, can you give me one clue? And that's what team did he play for?
You mostly think of him playing for the 76ers.
76ers. I'm gonna say Iverson.
Yes.
Wow. Okay. I was
Allen
actually
Iverson.
thinking Alvin Robertson. Do you remember Alvin Robertson at all? He was
I don't.
a top stealing guy, but I'm glad you gave me the clue. Otherwise, I would have thought otherwise.
I could have thought it would have been like Muggsy Bogues just going in between guys' legs.
No, I was then gonna say John Stockton, because he
Yeah.
is the current career leader in steals, but
Or even Steve Nash was pretty good at
and
that.
Nash, yeah. But Nash was never really a great ball stealer. He was, in fact,
Stockton was more known.
he was a great assister, and a great free throw shooter and a great 3-point shooter, but really not a good defender when it came
That's
to
true.
it.
All right,
So,
you ready for our thoughts for the day? Your
Never,
favorite part of the show?
never.
Okay. Did you hear the story about the claustrophobic astronaut? He just needed some space. And I didn't hear anything from you on that one. Yeah, that was pretty bad. Okay. And I started investing in stocks, beef, chicken, vegetable.
Yeah, there you go.
Wait, hold on. I hope one day I'll be a billionaire.
Oh, okay. There you go. That one's pretty good.
Yeah, I didn't get a laugh or chuckle out of you, but that one's pretty good. Okay. All right. Audience, tune in next week to Sports Econ 101. We're going to be discussing sports topics from a business perspective and asking more sports trivia questions. Thanks for listening. On behalf of our team, I'm your host, Edward Brown. We'll see you next week.
Adios.
So long.